hot dog is the true king of American streets. Back in the 1800s, German immigrants brought their Frankfurter sausages to New York. The real game changer was a guy named Charles Feltman, who decided to shove a hot sausage into a sliced bun so people wouldn't burn their fingers on the go. By the way, the name hot dog started as a sarcastic joke. People teased that the long, thin sausages looked exactly like dachshund dogs. And if you ever find yourself in Chicago, remember the golden rule: never, under any circumstances, put ketchup on your hot dog. Local street vendors consider it an absolute insult. Only mustard, relish, and fresh veggies are allowed. Doner kebab, or good old shawarma, is the ultimate savior of all hungry students and partygoers across Europe. But its history is a fascinating mix of cultures. The technique of roasting meat vertically on a spinning spit was invented in the Ottoman Empire back in the 19th century. But the modern doner kebab as we know it, wrapped in a crispy flatbread with fresh salad and garlic sauce, was actually born in Berlin in the 1970s. Turkish immigrants Kadir Norman and Mehmet Aygen realized that busy Germans needed a fast, hearty lunch they could eat on the move. Today, Berlin alone eats tons of doner every day, and the dish has completely conquered the global street food scene. An authentic street taco in Mexico is super minimalism and a true masterpiece of culinary engineering, and its origin story takes us deep into the silver mines of 18th century Mexico. Back then, miners used the word taco to describe small, paper-wrapped gunpowder charges used to blast through rock. The shape of those charges looked exactly like a folded tortilla packed with meat. Tacos quickly became the ultimate working-class fuel. If you ever get an authentic Mexican taco, you'll notice it's always served with two corn tortillas stacked together. This isn't a mistake. Corn dough is very fragile, so the second tortilla acts as a safety net to catch the filling if the first one breaks. Plus, it doubles your meal. Falafel is a legendary vegetarian staple that has been fueling the Middle East for centuries. These crispy, deep-fried balls, made from ground chickpeas or fava beans, were originally invented as a cheap, hearty meat substitute for poor communities. The magic of falafel lies in its incredible blend of spices. Coriander, cumin, garlic, and fresh herbs give it that rich, savory punch. Today, it's the ultimate global street food fusion. Vendors stuff these hot, crunchy balls into fresh pita pockets, drench them in creamy tahini sauce, and pack them with pickled veggies. It's cheap, incredibly filling, and packed with history. Korean corn dog is a smash hit of social media with a surprising historical twist. Generally, regular corn dogs flooded South Korea after the Korean War, brought over by the US military. For decades, it remained a basic, uninspiring sausage in dough. But in the 2010s, street vendors completely flipped the script. They replaced half the sausage with a massive block of stretchy mozzarella cheese, coated it in a batter packed with cubed French fries, and rolled the whole hot, crispy monster in sugar before drizzling it with sauces. This insane, sweet, and savory contrast looked absolutely perfect on video for TikTok and Instagram, turning Korean street food into a global trend. Tanghulu is the ultimate ASMR hit of the internet, and its name literally translates to sugar calabash, because the fruit skewered on the stick looks exactly like a small, decorative gourd. This treat is over 800 years old, and it was born out of a romantic royal legend. Story goes, an emperor's favorite concubine fell gravely ill and completely lost her appetite. A clever physician prescribed a bizarre remedy: sour hawthorn berries boiled in cracked sugar. They triggered the empress's appetite, saved her life, and the recipe instantly leaked to the streets. Today, instead of hawthorn, vendors use strawberries, grapes, and even cherry tomatoes. They dip them into boiling syrup that hardens into a glass-like shell. The contrast of the juicy fruit and the glass-like caramel has been driving Asia crazy for centuries. And in the 2020s, it went completely viral worldwide, thanks to the perfect crunch sound on video. Hong Kong waffles, which are called little egg-shaped balls in Asia, are the undisputed kings of Hong Kong street food. They popped up in the 1950s after World War II. According to one version, street vendors were desperately trying to save cracked chicken eggs that they couldn't sell. To avoid wasting the product, they mixed them into a sweet batter with condensed milk and started baking it in massive iron molds directly over hot coals. Historically, these bubbly waffles were eaten completely plain, broken apart by hand on the street. But in the 2010s, the internet turned them into an international trend. Now, the waffle is rolled into a cone and loaded to the brim with ice cream scoops, fresh fruit, and whipped cream for beautiful photos on social media. Thai fried ice cream is a massive visual hit born in Bangkok's night markets, and despite the name, absolutely zero frying is involved. The word fried stuck simply because the chefs prepare it on a freezing metal plate freezer, aggressively working their metal scrapers exactly like vendors frying street noodles. The vendor pours a liquid dairy base onto this ice grill, which sits at a freezing -20 degrees Celsius, throws in fresh fruit, and starts chopping away until it forms a thin, frozen sheet. As soon as the mixture freezes, they artfully scrape it into tight, beautiful rolls. On social media, this dessert became a cult phenomenon thanks to the rhythmic ASMR sounds of clinking metal and the ability to customize any crazy flavor you want, from fresh mango to actual French fries. Pani Puri is the ultimate explosive bite of Indian street food, and its name literally means water bread. According to a legend from the ancient epic Mahabharata, it was invented when a young bride had to feed an entire family using just a tiny scrap of dough and leftover veggies. The dish consists of hollow, crispy fried dough balls. The vendor uses their thumb to punch a hole in the top, stuffs it with spiced potatoes and chickpeas, and dunks it into an intense, spicy mint water with spices. You have to eat the whole thing in one single bite. If you hesitate or try to nibble it, the shell will disintegrate and the spicy water will completely drench you from head to toe. Takoyaki are those legendary Japanese savory balls packed with tender pieces of octopus. They were invented by a street vendor named Tomokichi Endo in Osaka back in 1935. Chefs pour a savory dashi-infused batter into special iron plates with half-sphere molds, and using metal skewers at a dizzying speed, they flip them constantly to form perfect round shapes. The piping hot balls are drizzled with Japanese mayo, savory sauce, and topped with dried bonito tuna flakes, which hilariously dance on camera from the rising heat. Just don't pop one in your mouth right away. The liquid filling inside is like culinary lava, and you will absolutely burn your tongue. Crepes are the world-famous paper-thin French pancakes that originated in Brittany all the way back in the 13th century. Parisian street vendors are absolute artists, using a special T-shaped wooden tool to smoothly spread the liquid batter across a blistering hot iron disc in seconds. The most famous sweet recipe, crêpe Suzette, was actually born from a chaotic kitchen mistake. A young waiter accidentally set fire to an orange liqueur sauce while cooking for the future King Edward VII of England. The prince loved the caramelized flavor so much it became a global hit. Plus, French folklore says that if you flip a crêpe in the pan with one hand while holding a gold coin in the other, you'll be rich all year round. Satay consists of miniature, flavor-packed skewers born on the island of Java in the 19th century. The dish is a brilliant historical fusion. Arab traders brought the concept of grilling meat on skewers, while Chinese immigrants taught locals how to use thin, elegant bamboo sticks. Chicken or beef is marinated in a vibrant mix of turmeric and lemongrass, grilled over open coals, and served with a thick, sweet, and spicy peanut sauce. Every evening, the streets of Jakarta are completely blanketed in a rich, aromatic smoke because street vendors use simple, cardboard fans to manually blast the coals, drawing crowds in purely by the smell. Churros, these long, crunchy sticks of choux pastry that today are dipped into hot chocolate in hipster cafes, were born in wild conditions. They were invented by Spanish shepherds high up in the mountains. Staying there for months without fresh bread was tough, and nobody could bake it in the mountains, so the shepherds figured out how to make the simplest dough from flour and water, shape it into thick sticks, and fry it directly over a campfire in a pan with oil. The dessert got its name in honor of the Chura sheep breed, whose horns resembled the shape of this pastry. Over time, the shepherds came down from the mountains to the city markets, turning their camp food into Spain's main street breakfast. But historians believe more in the second version. The recipe was brought by Portuguese sailors from China, who spotted the local fried dough, youtiao, there, and later in Europe, it was turned into a sweet dessert. The dough is squeezed into boiling oil through a star-shaped nozzle, which is exactly why churros get that famous ridged, crunchy crust. By the way, in Madrid, this is not just a dessert, but a cult morning breakfast that locals eat by the ton in old cafes early in the morning, especially when returning home after wild night parties. Arancini are the calling card of Sicilian street food, looking like golden, deep-fried balls. The name translates as little oranges due to their perfect round shape and bright orange crust. This dish appeared in the 10th century in Sicily out of pure peasant economy, when it was necessary to somehow save the remains of yesterday's rice. Peasants took cold risotto, formed balls out of it, hid the remains of meat, ragu, cheese, and peas inside, and then thickly rolled them in breadcrumbs. Such dense armor allowed them to take hearty food with them to work in the field. Arancini did not spoil in the heat and were maximally convenient to eat, with hands right on the go. To get the characteristic orange tint, they used saffron, which was also brought by the Arabs. Interestingly, a culinary war over this dish is still going on in Sicily. In Palermo, it is made perfectly round and called arancina in the feminine gender. And in Catania, they take offense and call it arancino in the masculine gender, giving it a cone shape in honor of Mount Etna, where the filling is hot lava. If you take the option with pure mozzarella, know that in Italy it is called telephone style, because the melted cheese stretches to your mouth like an old telephone wire. And on the holiday of St. Lucia, when flour food is banned on Sicily, arancini of all sizes and types are served instead. Elote is a cult Mexican street corn that proves street food can make a masterpiece out of the most ordinary product. In Mexico, corn has always been the staple of the poor's diet, but street vendors turned it into a real gastronomic attraction. A whole cob is first boiled or grilled until appetizing char marks appear, and then the magic begins. The corn on a stick is thickly slathered with mayonnaise, like cream on a cake, generously sprinkled with grated, salty cottage cheese, and heavily seasoned with spicy chili pepper powder with lime juice. It turns out to be a crazy, fatty, and spicy contrast of sweet, sour, and fiery flavors. By the way, this dish has a twin brother called esquites. It is all the exact same thing, but the grains are cut into a cup and eaten with a spoon. And in Mexico, there is still an eternal debate about what is cooler, gnawing corn straight from the cob on a stick or culturally eating it from a cup. If you want to know even more insane and interesting facts about all kinds of food from around the world, hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you definitely don't lose a